All right, so now let's get into the balancing changes. There are a ton of balancing changes, but let's go through them all. You have the global change, which is sprint is now 8% faster for Conk, Kinsei, Highlander, and Sohei. And I'm just gonna give a thank goodness for that. My goodness. Speed him up just a little bit, it all helps. Berserker got his health increased to 130 up from 125. Black Prior reduced the stamina drain for holding Bulwark stance to 3.5 seconds down from 5 seconds. Orochi's zone attack can now cancel its recovery into a dodge at 200 milliseconds up from 100 milliseconds. Ultimately, the reason is they are slowing it down because they thought it was a bit too safe before. Highlander's health increased to 130 up from 125. Offensive form lights are no longer enhanced. Yes. Jurin, Lion's Pounce can now be interrupted on block, and that's his tap dodge attack. If it's still not enough for Jurin, they will continue to nerf him. I just want to let you guys know that is something that they stated, so we will see what happens with Jurin. They reduced the stamina drain for holding Indomitable Stance to 2 seconds down from 5 seconds. So you Jurin players, just make sure you're providing them feedback with all these nerfs because you don't want them nerfed to oblivion, but so far, it hasn't been that bad. For Nobushi, oh my girl Nobushi, her zone attack now costs 10 stamina, down from 20, and that's for the second hit. Zone attack for the second hit now applies bleed that stacks. It used to not stack with other bleeds. Now this still feels like under the guise of an enhancement here because the bleed will stack, but that zone is pretty weak anyway, so it's pretty easy to defend. But it's still an enhancement, so I'll take it. Shigoki's charge of the Oni stamina cost per second reduced to 15, down from 25. Shaolin's Key Stance Lights now deal 12 damage, down from 14. And the Sun Sweep follow-up now deals 20 damage, down from 24. We got an interesting Raider change here. I think it's actually a fun change. So Stampede Charge now costs 30 stamina, down from 40. That's not the fun. Reaping Charge now gains uninterruptible stance at 400 milliseconds. Okay. Finishers can now chain to Raider's Fury. So I know you Raiders love throwing that out anyway. That's perfect. And this next one is even better for Jormungandr. Jormungandr's Serpent Smites now gains uninterruptible stance at 500 milliseconds, up from 400 milliseconds. But listen to this. Hammer Slam now gains uninterruptible stance at 100 milliseconds. Hammer Slam now deals 28 damage, down from 30. The shield gained by Hammer's favor is now 20, down from 25. But I know many of y'all Worms do not care. You at least will not be interrupted when you go to do your dang Hammer Slam. So that's a beautiful thing, because my Nobushi should not be able to poke you out of that. Hitokiri's health increased to 130 up from 125, and Sunkatsu now has more forward movement. I believe that's the forward dodge heavy, and it definitely needed some more forward movement on that move. Hatun Fear and Fury stance can now be cancelled into a dodge at 300 milliseconds, down from 500 milliseconds, good for Hatuns. And Zone Attack now has 433 milliseconds of guard break vulnerability, up from 100 milliseconds. Now for Sohei, Heavy Openers now gains uninterruptible stance at 500 milliseconds, up from 400. Mad Monk now gains uninterruptible stance at 500 milliseconds, up from 400. Now they did say Sohei, the changes, they worked. They saw his win rate go up, but it was exponential. So they're just making a small tweak here and they're gonna monitor. Virtuosa's Sideways Misdirect can now be performed during side dodges from 200 milliseconds to 400 milliseconds, and that's down from 200 milliseconds to 600 milliseconds. Holding posture now drains 5 stamina per second, down from 7 per second. Now they made these Virtuosa changes to her dodge because she was avoiding things that she shouldn't be able to avoid, so they needed to adjust that dodge timing. Now on to Pirate. Guaranteed Pistol Blast now deals 4 damage, down from 5. Pistol Blast after Walk the Plank now deals 15 damage, up from 5. You see how significant that is, but pay attention to this. Walk the Plank now deals 12 damage, down from 24 it says. Now part of their reasoning for doing this is because if you do nothing after Walk the Plank, you can get a wall splat. So instead of front loading the damage, they back loaded the damage to give an incentive to use the Pistol Blast and also not get so much damage from Walk the Plank, then wall splat, followed by a heavy. So you can see how they were working through that. For Tiandi, Side Dragon Dodge is now vulnerable to guard break for 533 milliseconds, up from 400 milliseconds. Side Dragon Dodge can be performed from side dodge from 200 to 500 milliseconds, up from 200 to 300 milliseconds. Now Zone First Hit now costs 20 stamina, down from 30. They are also looking into feats for Tiandi. They know he needs some work in that department, so expect something for his feats down the line. Now this is good for Warmonger mains. So light opener attacks are now enhanced again. Vicious Impale Claw on unbalanced out of stamina opponents now deals 10 plus 32 bleed damage, up from 10 plus 20 bleed. And Beast of Prey now deals 22 damage, down from 24. So good changes for Warmonger. Not so good news for Lawbringers, at least this first note here is sidelight attacks are no longer enhanced. Top Heavy Opener now deals 23 damage, down from 25. Top Heavy Chain now deals 24 damage, down from 26. Top Heavy Finisher now deals 27 damage, down from 28. And they wanted to try a new wrinkle here, so they made Impelling Riposte feightable. They did say this is somewhat of an experiment, so y'all need to go experiment and let them know what you think. But the reason why they took away Lawbringer's side enhanced lights is because they said Lawbringer doesn't need it. In his current state, he does not need those enhanced lights, so they just got rid of them. There was no technical reasoning or anything else provided other than that. Shinobi's Super Sprint stamina cost on activation increased to 10, up from 0. Really not that big of a deal. Aphira's Gravity Pull can now be dodged 400 milliseconds before the hit, up from 300 milliseconds. Speeding Comet changes. Speeding Comet can now be dodged 400 milliseconds before the hit, which is up from 300 milliseconds, and when performed at close range, it now gains full block at 400 milliseconds, which is up from 0 milliseconds. When using the feat, also triggers Fleetfoot. The attack gains full block after running for 400 milliseconds, and it was previously 0 milliseconds. Fleetfoot's minimum duration is now 400 milliseconds, up from 200 milliseconds. So a lot of Speeding Comet changes there. For Gladiator's Boleodorus now respects hit stun rules. I will try to say this as simply as I can. They said if the victim is idle, it's normal, and you just hit the first hit stun. If the victim was already in first hit stun, you receive 75% damage reduction, and the victims can be pinned again by other attackers. The example they gave was when Gladiator threw his Boleodorus, and then you had a Lawbringer that was then trying to flip him. That if it was the first hit stun, it would grab the person, and then Lawbringer will still be able to pin and flip. However, if the victim was already in second hit stun, the projectile will not bind. So if you tried to throw it and they were already in second hit stun, it's not going to bind. Centurion's going to get those feats. We were just talking about this on a previous video, but now Centurion is going to get those feat changes. They are integrated now, and I think they work well with this kit. You have Amplified Roar, which is a passive. Lion's Roar Finisher now unbalances enemies. You have his tier 2 feat, which is Eagle's Windfall. It's a passive. After landing an Eagle's Talon, you reduce enemies' attack and increases ally movement speed. Enemies deal 20% less damage for 10 seconds. Allies gain 20% movement speed for 10 seconds. So it's used near the end of ganks, especially because if you take somebody out, then all y'all can rush to the next spot a lot faster. Tier 3 feat, Vainglorious Pugio, is active. Throw a projectile that binds. Performing a Legion kick on the bound target unbalances them, so knocks them down, and it deals 15 damage and has a 120-second cooldown. And they refined the Phalanx, and it's called Refined Phalanx. So it's active. It gives all allies a moderate amount of shield and cleanse negative status effects. That grants 50 shield for 10 seconds, and it's a 180-second cooldown. So this adds a little element to the match whenever you see a Warmonger use her tier 4, and then Cent could have this tier 4. This could really help the team out. Something you need to note is Cent's new feats are now the default feats, and his alternate feats are the following. So you have Bounty Hunter for tier 1. I know they have bullet points here, but think of it tier 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you have Bounty Hunter as a tier 1, Inspire as a tier 2, Second Wind as a tier 3, and Stalwart Banner as a tier 4. And then you also have Body Count as a tier 1, Executioner's Respite as a tier 2, Sharpened Blade as a tier 3, and Catapult as a tier 4. Peacekeeper also got her feat changes in there. So you got the tier 1 feat Crossbow Wound. The active fires a crossbow that deals direct bleed damage, deals 1, so it's just 1 damage, plus 10 bleed damage over 10 seconds, has a 30-second cooldown. Her tier 2 feat is Bleed Armor. After a hit on a bleeding target, you gain a defense buff for a short duration, grants 25% damage reduction, 10-second duration. The third feat, Sanguine Serrations, is active, attacks apply bleed, passive, hit a bleeding target to reduce the feat's cooldown. I really like that portion of it. Attacks deal an additional 10 bleed over 5 seconds, active for 12 seconds, 150-second cooldown. While hitting a bleeding opponent while the feat is on cooldown, the cooldown is reduced by 5 seconds. Now this tier 4 is very interesting. So tier 4 Induce Fear is active. Nearby enemies receive a defense debuff, and the duration resets when killing enemies. So it reduces defense by 30%, it's active for 20 seconds, 180-second cooldown. So if you're PK, you pop this tier 4, nearby enemies are going to receive that defense debuff. You actually get a takedown, let's say at the between 15 and 20 second mark. You think it's going to be gone. You're going to lose your tier 4. No, if you take them down, it's going to reset for another 20 seconds. That is beautiful. And this also pauses and will hopefully get your teammates thinking about you, especially if you have that tier 4 U, so you can get the kill versus them, because it benefits the entire team. But will they? Probably not. Not in most cases. Here's another pretty sweet change, honestly. So dagger cancel is now unblockable when performed off a top heavy attack. So that's really going to help her get her offense off and give some people some things to think about. I like that move. You can also see that her new feats are also the default feats, and her alternate feats are the tier 1 stealth, tier 2 fiat lux, tier 3 pugno mortis, tier 4 catapult, and then our alternate feats are also bounty hunter, executioner's respite, punch through, last laugh. You see them there. And I try to say these changes even though you see them on screen, because there's people that are viewing this that do not speak English, so at least YouTube has a chance to translate it so they understand. A couple of feat changes they made was corruption. Damage per tick now deals 8 damage, down from 10. Last laugh damage now ranges from 20 to 100, down from 20 to 140. So that's all for balancing, and then they added a few bug fixes. So Aphira, orbiting shield, can no longer debuff allies if it hits them. That's always good. You don't want to hurt your allies anyway. Pirate trick shot can no longer debuff allies if it hits them. And Centurion can no longer land a guaranteed jab after a charge heavy. So that is a lot. It's a lot to take in. It's going to be some adjustments that have to be made, especially if you get used to playing a certain way. But it's going to be fun, y'all. It's a lot of changes. I'm curious what you guys think about it. Please let me know in the comments.